We hear women come up and talk about how successful they are and how intimidated men are, and they never say a word about their character. And I just can't help but think about how turned off women get when men lead with money and lead with accomplishment and end up having nothing but unavailability and coldness and lack of emotional development, because that unfortunately is what it takes to succeed in certain career fields. You can look it up. And for some reason, women think that the success that they've amassed has somehow happened without them becoming devoid of a lot of the personality and relationships that men are devoid of. And they flex their accomplishments and money the same way men do. And somehow we make it different every time. Every time. No disrespect to you, but you didn't say about being a good woman. Nothing.
Why
You didn't say no. Fuck all that, bro. Didn't say nothing about.
I can tell you what.
No, let him brew. Let him brew. Let him brew.
This is about a larger point. This is not about her as an individual. We don't hear, I'm successful, I got my degree, and I've been in therapy the last 3 years working out my issues. I just bought a house, and I also identified my childhood trauma, and it took inventory over my baggage, and I got it out the way. Oh, also, I'm loyal. My time management is on point. I do what I say I'm going to do. I'm considerate. We never hear any of it. What I hear is when say that y'all act like, when men say that y'all have turned into alphas, what we're talking about is the worst parts of manhood. Y'all have taken it on. Now, the problem with men is that we won't admit that those are the worst parts of us too. But shorty, y'all have taken the worst parts of what it means to be successful, and y'all wear that like a badge. Look at what it's done to us. If you need an example of what it looks like to only live in your accomplishments, look at the black men around you. You in a city full of them. Look at how devoid they are. Look at what it took them to get to where they are. Look at how underdeveloped some of them are emotionally. This is what you want? Is this what we're going to do, to let accomplishments be Band-Aids for that?
All right. I ran into that. I just thought I would start today's stream with that snippet from, Trip has a lot of good things to say. And I've heard him say good things. I don't agree with everything he says. There are plenty of times when he does the pandering thing, obviously so. But he has a lot of well thought out responses. And that is true. I think when it comes to knowing what you want, and if that's a healthy relationship, if that's your goal, then you can't just bring the money and status. And there was a very valid point there being made about what it takes to have a successful relationship, or a healthy relationship at that, right? You need somebody who's emotionally mature enough on both ends, and I mean both men and women who come together, so that they could sustain that relationship. But a lot of times you'll see that most people, usually because of what they hear online, you hear women say things like, oh, if he's not rich, then I'm not interested. All men are terrible, so just marry the richest one. When you can only get so far in that type of dynamic, you're setting yourself up for failure. Vice versa, when you hear the women come on in front of cameras, they're flexing all their accomplishments, and men just don't care. If you are a man who thinks you need to work on that part of yourself, in Brew Brothers, we have a whole section is dedicated to an introduction to therapy for men. We have Alvin Gilmore, professional, is in there, and he walks you through why therapy may be, because I don't believe it's for everybody, but if you believe it will help you, why it may be good for you. Let's check out a few comments here, see what the people have to say. Top comment here says, "Dear God, thank you for Trip." Fontaine, a rare treasure. Somebody else here says, "The silence is deafening." Yeah, that was interesting, right? Because when you usually see these little clips and someone's done making a point, I think the majority of the people in the audience are women. And so they're usually cheering at what they hear, but there was no cheering here because there was a bit too much bitterness. And we're talking about how dark and muddy that coffee was. Somebody else here says, boy, the quietness is real loud. Here's somebody else who says, when a person leads with their accomplishments, they are looking for validation. Run. Somebody else here says, glad that he didn't allow Keita to interrupt with her sarcasm. Right. Yeah. That Keita chick is, she's loud. I'm sure she serves her purpose there on that panel for sure. But that just didn't seem like the right time to interject when that very important point was being made. And what's interesting about that is that should tell you a lot about someone's awareness, situational awareness to conversations, and how maybe they would discuss things within a conversation. Somebody else here says exactly why Pep's wife is divorcing him, complaining about his unavailability, yet wants the 50% of everything acquired due to his unavailability. Here's somebody else who says, true and just insane. Pep's divorce is just insane. I feel for him. He will never be the same. Somebody else says, who is Pep? And somebody responded here and says, the greatest football manager of all time. Yeah, get a prenuptial agreement, fellas. Head over to fathershaverights.com, get free legal information, and protect yourself if you're somebody who's going to enter a marriage. Not so you can be reckless and get away with bad behavior. No, that's not why at all. Remember, you have the power to decide the boundaries and expectations within your marriage.